All right, joining me now to talk more about this is former federal prosecutor, former Department of Justice Senior Attorney Tammy Allison. Tammy, this is one to discuss because, as you heard there, he said I wanted a fair sentence. So what is a fair sentence? Technically, 15 is the max. The sentencing guidelines basically say she faces, because she's a first-time offender, hasn't been in trouble before, appears to be remorseful, is between 6.5 and 8.5. Before, the state was asking an upward departure from that 8.5, going up to as much as 15. But now they're saying, we think somewhere in the middle, about 7.5 works. I want to get your thoughts on that decision by the state.
You know, Michael, I have so many different thoughts about that decision by the state to no longer seek the upward departure. Typically, you would see, in my experience, a defense attorney be arguing for a downward departure. For the state to no longer be seeking the upward departure, in my opinion, is kind of like the same as the defense attorneys asking for a downward departure for her to serve less time in jail for the murder of Dante Wright. I typically see prosecutors ask or no longer pursue upward departures against defendants only there's like a plea agreement. And here that is not the case. A jury found her guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So I was a little surprised to see that, but we have to wait and see what happens, how everything is taken into consideration. Typically there's victim impact statements that are also taken into consideration. And the prosecutors, I'm not sure if they just no longer sought the upward departure or filed a motion, but it's not really typical in my experience.
Yeah, it's not. And they have actually filed a motion. I read it today. The other thing that surprised me in it was that not only are they seeking a downward departure, or not a downward departure, but seeking less now. The defense is asking for probation. The state, they opposed the probation, but they also said, if in fact there is probation, which they very rarely do, they said she could speak to other cops about making this mistake. She could speak to manufacturers about the making design changes. She could help the community heal. And if she is going to impose no jail time, they're saying 10 years probation would be appropriate. So probation is clearly on the table here. I'm not sure that's the correct way, but this is certainly a case that I think jail time is appropriate. But again, I'm not so certain that you have to go to the maximum in this situation.
Michael, jail time is definitely appropriate in any case where a jury has found a defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, especially of these types of charges. The fact that probation alone as a sentence is even on the table is a little upsetting. Like, that's not normal. That's not how that works. Typically, on a federal level and here in this state, they go by the sentencing guidelines. And, that is, as you stated, based off of her criminal history record, which would put her probably in a criminal history category of like a 1, which is kind of low for those viewers that don't understand what the sentencing guidelines is and the table. But when you compare it to the base level offense, right, the seriousness of the type of offense that took place, the crime, that type of crime typically has a high base level offense, which would still equal some type of jail time. I don't see any type of sentencing guidelines where there would be 0 jail time and just probation. That would be an extreme downward departure from the sentencing guidelines. And that is something that I have not seen in my experience ever before. So it is very surprising that this officer, that looks like that, is even having the opportunity to have those types of conversations. Because if she looked like me, I don't think that conversation would be happening at all in real life. Also, given the fact that she is going to have a conviction, the fact that individuals with a conviction, whether it's on a state or a federal level, are not allowed to possess a firearm, it's a very interesting that you'd be able to speak to people about firearms, and that would mean she'd be around firearms. And that's a violation of her conviction.
Yeah, and it's just a suggestion being made by the defense. I'm not even sure it's on the table. Regina Chu, who's the judge in this case, has consistently said she's not going to treat her any different than any other defendant, and that goes to your point. You've never seen anyone in this position get probation. I don't think she'll get probation, but we'll have to see what the judge is going to do. We'll be airing that live here tomorrow, beginning at 9 a.m., so you don't want to miss that. See how all that turns out. All right, moving now to another story. Stand by, Tammy.